Okay, making sketchbooks in the art room. This is for my kindergarten through third grade students. Fourth and fifth, I raise money to buy them a sketchbook instead of making their own. So we do this on the third or fourth week of school. We've already hit color. We've worked on the color wheel. As we move into line is when I introduce making sketchbook covers. So they kind of get to explore using line and color as they are decorating their sketchbook cover. So every class has colored tables, as you can see, and I make sure I have first, second, and third. I cut 12 by 18 pieces of construction paper, ones that match the color of our table. So if they're a black table, they're going to get a black sketchbook. That's why when I'm passing them out, I can pass them out much quicker than normal. I also order 12 by 18 newsprint, lots of it, because it's easily the same size as the cover. And I have a long handle stapler. I have a regular stapler. We also make art loyalty cards that go on top of their sketchbook. It's our behavior system, and I go ahead and write their name as the class are creating them, so I have them ready to attach. Also on my cart behind me, I kind of push this around with me as I'm working on sketchbooks. It has the 12 by 18 cut paper. It has the 9 by 12 newsprint for kindergarten, and then the 12 by 18 newsprint for first, second, and third. Because again, first, second, and third sketchbooks are larger. Okay, let me get one of Kay's sketchbooks. These are kindergarten sketchbooks. This is just a box top I've done, and then there is a little rack that I ordered, and I didn't realize how small they were, so I just decided to use them this way. But theirs are much smaller than the, this would be first, second, and third. This is kindergarten. And the reason I do that, it's just easier. They're just kind of getting the habit of how to decorate it. We don't always get to pull out sketchbooks as much in kindergarten as I do in first, second, and third, because we're still learning new skills and going over things that first, second, and third have already experienced. And I do keep them in these box tops, and they are in a bunch of cubby holes that I have in my room. And then when it's their class's turn, if we're using sketchbooks, I have an area where I separate them by color, so that way the kids will be able to get them from that area. First, second, and third, theirs are just in the same box top, but they're just laying down, and I just pull them out again, color coded, so that way I know what table they are. So when they come into the art room, they have a paint mat that is sitting in front of them. Then they get the piece of paper that they have been given. They put their name on it just like normal, just to get in the routine. And then we have paint sticks that we use. So every table has paint sticks, and I have about 2 of every color in this container. They get about 15 minutes at the most to decorate their cover. We're only decorating one side. As the class is coming to an end, that's when I bring these art loyalty cards. I will come around and I will staple them to everybody's paper. That way, when they leave, if I can't read their name, I already have their name right here. So as they are gone, during my little downtime, that is when I sit at a table and I quickly put their sketchbook together. So I just have a stack that was from first grade that they did yesterday. And paint sticks, you got to be careful. If they did use too much paint, they can stick together. But these were sitting out for a little bit longer, so they should be okay. But I just have them sitting here with the blank side. I just grab, and I don't count. It's probably 15 to 20 pieces of newsprint. When I know it feels right, once I get them in there, I take that cover, I fold it, crease it. I usually have a bone creaser, but I cannot find it. And then I flip it open where the front cover is. My long-handed stapler goes in, and I put 3 staples down the spine of the sketchbook. Normally 3 will hold it for all year long. And the cool thing about this is if they use all the paper, I just use a staple remover to remove the staples, keep the cover, slide in new paper. Sometimes it's newsprint if I still have some newsprint. Sometimes it's just random paper, whatever I have. So that is how we use our sketchbooks. The kids love making them. They ask every year if we are making them. And I've kind of got it down to a science where I felt like in the past It took me forever to get them done, but as I've done this year after year, I've kind of got a routine of how to get them put together. Now, in the past, I've also done it where as they are making them, I would have a table like this as the class is in the class working on the covers. If they finish before the timer comes off, then I would just ask them to raise their hand. So then I would call them back and I would do this part right in front of them and already have some done before they left. Now, the only problem with that is I noticed some kids rush to get the cover done so they can get it made. And then it's just not as colorful and decorated as I would have liked or they would have liked. Other times, kids, even though we go over directions as usual, they just start wandering around with their paper and I'm reminding them, please raise their hand because I can only have one student at the table as I'm working on creating the sketchbooks. I don't need a whole line of people. So I've just learned to, this last year, I've decided I'm just going to collect them, put their names on them. That way, during my planning periods, I can kind of crank them out and get them done. And hopefully when Miss Lawson is gone, which it happens, or when my kids are sick and I don't get to make sub plans, or I just had a busy week, or, you know, we had something going on and that class never got to the project, or they're so far ahead of the other group that I don't want to move them to a new project, that we can pull out sketchbooks. And I do these draw alongs on my other YouTube channel that I pull up one of those and the kids just get to work and be creative in their sketchbook. Now, I do introduce them to sketchbooks. We do talk about sketchbooks. I show them my sketchbooks because I really don't want them to tear a paper out or to rip a paper. Sometimes they do. I just tell them, I'm not ripping your paper out. I'm not tearing it. And if it ruins your sketchbook, then I'm sorry, but that was your choice. So I do have kids that do try to do that. We don't have scissors near them, so they can't cut anything out. They do get to use markers and crowns inside of them. Pencils are always acceptable. This year, I'm adding colored pencils and oil pastels to our sketchbook supplies, and mainly because markers tend to run out very quickly, and I am not a millionaire. I cannot buy markers because if I see everybody and we're all using sketchbooks that week, I'm seeing 650 students or something like that. So I have now added colored pencils and oil pastels, and mainly because a kid wants a red marker. The other person has it. They don't have a red marker. It ran out. So then they start looking for another red marker. And then all of a sudden I notice one table has 50 red markers in their container while the other one, no one else has one. So I've kind of eliminated them going to other tables asking for supplies, because we've talked about if you don't have a red marker, you can get a red oil pastel or a red colored pencil. So that's hopefully going to help cut down on this year. That was a pet peeve of mine. Every time at the end of the year, I kind of think back what really annoyed me. What did the kids do that I constantly had to correct and get on to, so that was a new procedure we added this year, is making sure you understand that you should not be wandering around looking for a color from some other table. I do have an extra bucket of random crowns that I pull out if they cannot find that color in the oil pastel or colored pencil, but they should, because there's two sets of colored pencils at every table. There are two, and let me show you this. It's at our cart. So every table has a cart just like this one, and in the middle, that's where we keep our sketchbook supplies. So that way, again, if I'm gone, it's easier. They have a marker and crown container, and they know that these go back in here because there's a sticker that shows a marker. So they go back there. Same container, they have oil pastels, but again, inside, if you flip it up, there's a little picture that has oil pastels, so they know those go back in there. And then our colored pencils are different colors, but there are two erasers, I keep saying that, two sharpeners in there, because I know colored pencils are frustrating, and I'm not going to let them use my electric sharpener. So those in there. So I let them pull all of these supplies out when we do sketchbooks. That way no one should be asking for more supplies or a different color, because I tell them to check all the things that are usable for our sketchbooks. But it's a great way to have a plan ready if I am not out. And the cubby holes are right here. They are very accessible to whoever's coming. They're all labeled, as you can see. On the box top, I put what grade they're in. No, I'm sorry, that's the day. We have 6-day rotation. So what day they are, what grade, and the teacher's name. So, and they're all kind of labeled. second grade's at the top because that's my first group that comes in, and then third grade, and then kindergarten, and at the bottom is first grade. So again, if I'm ever gone or unable to provide any kind of direction to anybody walking in my room, it's pretty easy. And it's easy to have written in a general set of plans. So that way, if you do have someone, I can just pull out my sub plans binder and it's all right there for them. So I hope this helped you be able to easily create and use sketchbooks within your elementary art room. I know when I started this, goodness, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, it was a bit daunting and intimidating because, again, let me stop right there. Do you see this kind of pattern? This is a first grader. Look at that. That's beautiful. When I first thought about adding this to my art room, when we first started beginning to do this, yes, I agree. It was a lot of work getting the sketchbooks created. I felt like I was sitting here doing sketchbooks over and over, but as each year came and I just picked up a routine, I picked up a rhythm, and now it is second nature and I don't feel stressed by it. I actually feel more stressed not having sketchbooks in my room and not having them prepared than actually getting it done. So I've already seen, we're on day 3 today. So I've already done 2 kindergarten and 2 first grade. And I will say within my schedule, second and third, kindergarten first, I have a little bit of a break in between my lunches between third and kindergarten. So I don't let everybody do sketchbook covers at one time because I feel like it runs through my supplies quickly. And that way, when I finish kindergarten and first grade sketchbooks, I have a little bit of time to maybe order or reorder supplies I need before I begin second and third. So this week, I'm just allowing kindergarten and first grade to get their sketchbook covers painted and created and getting those done. And it gives me a kind of break of not doing the same thing. So the next 6 days, or already 3 days, 2 days in. So the next 4 days, I'm going to be finishing up kindergarten first. And then the next week, second and third will be making theirs. And again, it just kind of helps break it up. And I don't feel like I'm sitting here doing this all the time. So again, I like the cart and have the cart right here. So that way it's easily kind of get every dibby things out. And not every group has the same table open. So that way I can just throw my supplies back on the carts, roll it out of the way. And then that way, when I get another time, if it's another table, I can just roll it up next to the table and I'm all ready to go. So if you have questions about sketchbooks, please drop them below. But I hope you enjoyed getting to learn a little bit how to use them in your classroom.